back here another week on the Big Man's Report Live podcast. I'm your host, Blake Roselle. I have a great guest on this week. We'll get to him in just a second. But if you have seen my Instagram lately, my first two episodes of my past two interviews were two great shows, now uploaded on my YouTube channel. My first episode with Johnny Garbarino, the Cannoli King out of South Philadelphia. He's been making a lot of noise lately with his bare knuckle fights. So shout out to him and Johnny Garb. Doing your thing and keep going. Sky's the limit. We had a great show. Please get on there and check it out if you haven't already. Felicia Ponzo, singer, podcaster from the City Buzz podcast, had her on a few weeks ago. That interview, the full episode is now on my YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out as well. A lot of great content for you guys and a lot of great things in the works. So those past two episodes were great. We had great conversations. I really think you guys will like those interviews if you haven't got to them yet. So stay posted to my YouTube channel for more information and content coming your way, and my Instagram and my Facebook pages as well. The Big Man Show Live on Instagram and Blake Roselle on Facebook. So this week, before we get started, I always like to give a shout out to my sponsor for making the show possible here on the Big Man's Report Live podcast. Direct Core Auto Parts, great family-owned business for many, many generations. If you're looking to cash in your used auto parts or you want to sell your scrap metal from auto parts of recent vehicles that you may have owned, or if you know someone, contact in cashyourcores.com. Speak with my man Angelo and the family. There's a great family business there if you're looking for that, and they're always looking to buy different parts from their customers. So check out cashyourcores.com and Direct Auto Parts. Versus Bakery of Turnersville, Brigantine, and Margate. Nice, fresh Italian deli. They've been around a long time. Homemade sandwiches, catering events, fresh pasta dinners, you name it. They got everything. They got a great dessert selection. You're looking to host an event. You want to cater a birthday party. You want to just have a party in general. Versus Bakery is your way to go with the beautiful seated roll. They have the best bread around, so check out Versus at one of the three locations, Turnersville, Margate, or Brigantine. Visit my man Ralph, tell him the Big Man sent you. Thomas C. Roselle, attorney at law in South Jersey, serving over 30 years in the business and his practice. If you need a criminal attorney, contact Thomas C. Roselle. It's important to have a trusted attorney for a great possible outcome, so first consultation is free. Contact Thomas C. Roselle. You can email him at tcrlaw@gmail.com or his direct number, 609-204-0043. For his services, please contact Thomas. And last week, but not least, we have Tracy Blake, Gymnastics Academy of Northfield. For all your gymnastics needs, looking to sign up your child for a class, team, birthday party, Blaze Gymnastics Training Academy in Northfield is your spot to go. As well as connected to that, we have South Jersey All Sports, looking to rent a batting cage, have a party, birthday party, or use for sports events facility, state of the art. We have weightlifting equipment, agility equipment, all brand new turf field. Check out South Jersey All Sports at Northfield, and both locations are at 1225 West Mill Road in Northfield, New Jersey. Check them out. Stop in today for more information. Now let's get back to the show here. We have episode 3 already, season 4, episode 3. We're really making it moving here, but we have a lot of great things in the work. My guest tonight, big in the local area, Philadelphia, the Tri-State area. You've definitely seen him on the TV. He's in your home, whether you're a Philly sports fan or you're just watching the news at night. You've definitely seen this gentleman who I'm about to introduce. Does a great job, and I'm been having the pleasure to get to know him recently the past couple of weeks. And I'm looking forward to speaking with him tonight about his journey into journalism and getting into the news and a million other things that he does as well that we're going to talk about in the media world. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce my main man from Fox 29 Philly, journalist and news anchor on the big screen, Jason Martinez. Jason, thanks for coming on.
It's great to be here. It's great to meet you and see you in person. We've been talking for a while, and great studio you got here. Great show. I know you put a lot of work into this, so I'm thrilled to be here.
I appreciate that, and I'm glad we could work it out for you to come on. Yeah. And shout out to John here at New Jersey Content Studio for hooking it up, and it's a great place here in studio. in Haddonfield, New Jersey. If anyone's looking to digital marketing and branding, and also want to shoot a podcast, come here.
I need to come to Haddonfield more. It's a great town. I'm in Delco. I'm in the Philly suburbs, so I don't come to Jersey enough. But I got to spend some more time here. I got to eat some of the food, experience some of the culture. I got a bunch of kids and stuff, so getting across the bridge is it's a schlep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a pretty big family. Family of 5 little ones. I saw.
Well, yeah, 3 little ones.
3
and
little
2.
ones.
So if we want to get right into what had happened was I got married at 21.
Yeah.
We had 2 kids. She was my high school sweetheart. You don't get married at 21. That's what happens. We had 2 beautiful children. They are now 21 and 19. Those 2 boys. Things didn't work out with my high school sweetheart. We have our 2 beautiful boys. Got remarried 10 years ago. And we have 3. So that's 5. So my little ones are 9, 6, and 4. My older ones are 21 and 19. Wow. So, and they are my life, the kids and the wife. I have no time for anything else. It's just the family, or I'm either working or dadding.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So you're doing your thing with the news, or you're being you're a dad at home. You're doing all the dad responsibilities.
Yeah, because if I'm not doing one of those 2 things, I don't think it's not worth my time. If I'm not, doing something to help shape the kids or help my wife or do something around the house or earn a living.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Because I love golf, right? I would love to go out there and play 18 holes every Saturday, but there's no way I'm going to spend 5-6 hours at the course when I know I should be home doing something with the kids.
Right.
Because that guilt is a real thing. Do you have kids?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Not yet, at least.
Dad guilt is a real thing. And so I've tried to live in a way that is, what am I going to feel the least guilty about? What am I going to go to bed tonight thinking, that was a good day? I'm glad I did that.
Yeah. So as a dad, I'm sure you, like you said, you feel that in your heart. Like, did I do the right thing today? Like with the kids?
That's right.
Are they mad at me before they go to sleep? Or are they happy with that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
When your head hits the pillow, do you start thinking, how was my day? What could I have done better? Or what could I have worked harder on or changed about because there's nothing like a good night's sleep when you did it just how you should have done it. And when you don't, you got a little voice that's talking to you that's saying, damn it, you should have done this or that, or,
Right.
I'm trying to shut that voice up as much as possible.
Yeah, so it seems like you're always trying to make sure that the A game is always done appropriately.
Yeah.
It seems like you're kind of like perfecting not only your job, but also your family, personal life too.
Totally. And because you live and learn.
Yeah.
And in my 20s, you make bad decisions, you procrastinate, you just do dumb things, and then you beat yourself up over it. And I don't want to beat myself. I don't beat myself up anymore. I want to live clean and in a way that just, you sleep like a rock at night. No regrets.
Absolutely. So that's really special that you shared that with me, but we'll definitely get back into that, a little bit more about your family life and stuff. But Jason, let's start from the top here. I mean, we have a lot to talk about tonight, but where did this all start? Where was your hometown? What, your upbringing? What was your earlier years kind of like?
So I'm from Southern California, the LA suburbs, Riverside area.
What part? Riverside?
Yeah, that's an hour and a half east of LA.
My mom lived in Huntington Beach for a while.
Yeah. Well, I went to a university called Chapman University in Orange County. It's by Disneyland out there. But grew up a diehard LA sports fan. I still love the Dodgers, but I love the Phils too. So fans, calm down, because they were like, "You're from LA, man. You're not a Philly guy." And you know what? I never claimed to be a Philly guy. What I do claim is to love the Philly sports culture, and I do root for these teams. I mean, my livelihood depends on it. If the Phillies go to the World Series, I'm there. If the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, I was there. I've been traveling and covering this team, so I put all this time in. To root for these teams. But going back to your original question, from LA, grew up there, big family. I'm Mexican and Italian. My mom's side is Italian. My dad's side's Mexican. And I grew up idolizing Vince Scully, who was one of the all-time great broadcasters. Peter Jennings, all-time great news anchor back in the day when we were kids. Remember when back in the day, you'd watch the news and like the anchor still had a cigarette lit and you'd see like the smoke coming up on TV. That's what I grew up watching in news. Yeah. My mom was always kind of guiding me and saying, "Hey Jay, look at this. Look how cool this news anchor is. Isn't he smart? Isn't he funny or whatever?" And I started watching as a kid thinking, I think I'm going to do that. But I played baseball growing up. Played against Chase Utley and Cole Hamels and a lot of big leaguers back then, and thought I had a chance. Thought I was going to get drafted. Put in the work. Played a little bit in college, but it just never happened. I played third. Couldn't hit for power. Good glove, not fast. Good arm. Hit for average. Couldn't hit for. I mean, it just I just had like 3 tools. So that didn't work out. So as soon as that didn't work out, I thought, okay, broadcasting. Boom, sports broadcasting. And I had a few mentors tell me, you might make more money and have better opportunities if you stayed away from sports and went straight to news. So I listened, and it worked. First job was Toledo, Ohio, out of college, and which is a pretty good sized market for a startup. But I was homesick. Go to LA to Toledo, Ohio. That's right between like Ohio State and Michigan in football. And I was very homesick. It was a whole culture shock, right? Going to the Midwest and just experiencing that. But I got used to it. You get used to it. You acclimate. And I fell in love with the culture there in the Midwest and made some lifelong friends in that first job. You make $28,000 your first job. And you know what? It's fine. It's plenty. You can live on that.
Right.
I didn't have any kids yet at that point.
Yeah. So that at the time, that was, you were just starting out, and that was good for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was just happy to have the job. And it was like, oh, and by the way, your first like live shot or your first like time on TV is, it is so nerve wracking. I mean, you're shaking, you can't sleep, you can't eat. It's like, you just don't mess it up.
Right.
And now I'm like, if I mess up, I mess up. I've messed up so many times, I can't even.
And now that probably just comes natural to you.
Well, and if you mess up, you don't, so what? Like you don't harp on it or you dwell on it. You just move on. Back then, every mess up was like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. And then you watch yourself and you're like, God, dumb tie, or your hair is out of place, or you sound like an idiot. You're your biggest critic.
Right.
So, so you got to go to the minor leagues in news and get it out of your system. Get all the mess ups and insecurity out of your system, so that when you hit a larger market, you're ready for whatever comes your way.
And again, like you said, starting out, you're younger and you're just kind of working out the kinks, and you're a little hard on yourself, probably, right?
For sure.
But that comes normal. Kind of with anything, and especially being on TV in front of the camera. You're like, I can only imagine. Like,
and this was before. This was before Instagram. This was before Facebook. This was even before MySpace. My first job was a month after 9/11 in Ohio. So it was October of 2001 when I got my reporting debut. And so back then, news was still an old school kind of big deal.
Yeah.
Now it's, it still has its place. It's still a big deal. It's just different. It's more digital, and we have digital channels now, and obviously a lot of social media. It's changed a lot, but back then it was still a big deal. So I think I'm still kind of from the old school. When I'm one of the last generations of like old school news people, trained by old school news people, and I'm kind of proud of that. Kind of like that school of journalism.
No, and it's cool. It's like what you're used to. And would you say that you're watching the news when you were younger? Would you say that's what kind of like, you may have already touched on a little bit, but that made you want to get into broadcasting, especially after your baseball career?
Yeah, and I wasn't
you were fascinated with the news and watching as a young kid.
Yep. Yes, and it's not even about I want to be on TV. I want to be a celebrity. It was just like, I love television. This is exciting, like the behind the scenes and going to see the control room. And I had some internships, and I just fell in love with the craft of television. And I'm a nerd about it. I still think it's so cool the way it's kind of like a team. Mm-hmm. It's a total team effort, producers and directors and behind the scenes people, and you put on a live performance, and it's just great. But when I was a kid, major stories were happening. And the news was the only way to find, like the OJ trial and the LA riots in 1992 were big, and just pursuits became a huge phenomenon in LA, watching live coverage of these like wild chases. So I was, as a kid, usually kids nowadays, they don't watch the news, but for some reason I was just a junkie watching it.
Yes, I mean, I think, the social media has changed that, like we kind of said, and we'll get into that too, like how everything's so digital now.
Yeah.
Like, the news stations have an official Instagram page, so you could just see developing stories on your feed all day long without turning on the actual television.
I kind of hate that. I wish they would turn on the TV and watch, but it's just not.
Well, that's your old school. That's your old school feeling right there.
That ship has sailed, and you have to, as a news operation, you kind of have to play all the cards that you've got, which is social media, digital channels, Twitter, everything else, X. So you have to adapt.
There's so many avenues.
Oh my God. Well, that's why, viewership isn't what it isn't what it was. I mean, people are still watching, and Fox, we're known to be, we're still a different kind of a channel. Our boss is always pushing us to do it differently. We go there as our slogan, and you've seen Mike Jarek and Alex and how great they are.
Yep.
And sometimes you watch for entertainment. You watch to see what's Mike going to say, what fun thing, how are they going to make us laugh? So you can't just deliver the news the way Cronkite did or whoever else, but you have to kind of do it with a little edge or something memorable, genuine warmth.
One of the old school, talk about old school news. One of the old school guys that just kind of retired was Jim Gardner.
Yeah.
And you had the pleasure of probably talking to him a lot of times and meeting him.
A few times. He's a class act. I met him at a Phillies World Series game, and he's just anytime you can do something that long and make that kind of impact, he's the man. I mean, he's the guy. If you say news anchor, Philadelphia, who comes to mind? Jim Gardner.
And what's cool about Jim Gardner too, like even when I was a real young kid and he was still on, he would always have the same approach to the news. He'd have his voice, the way he pitched it, everything was still the exact same. And he had that old school news delivery. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but he had that
classy and smart and just and they Channel 6 is a juggernaut. They've got that song that just resonates with everybody. And so there's no denying their place here in this market too.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we'll talk about. I mean, Philly's got a lot of markets with the CBS News, Fox 29 Philly, you guys, and 6 ABC, and my PHL 17. Is that kind of that's a big?
That's another one too. Yeah, absolutely. And we're competing with all of that and then some. And then you've got podcasters and just people Instagram accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers. And I will say, there's never a dull day in Philly news. I mean, whether it's in Delco or in the city or Jersey, whatever it is. I mean, sometimes it's shameful stuff going on. Sometimes it's funny stuff. What I love is when sports gets big, because it's not negative. Then it's exciting. Then you turn the news on to get hype. I like that.
Yeah, and I want to get into all the positive, like the Philly recent, Eagles Super Bowl victory win, and we're getting into the Philly season now. One question I have for you, because I want to get into when your early jobs we talked about and how you ended up here at Fox 29. But before I get to that, so your basic question about news, and maybe I'm sure you could probably give me some insight into this, but why does it seem like, and people have asked me, and because I've interviewed anchors and I've had some kind of experience with the News Central, I guess you could say, why does news always appear to be more negative than positive?
Oh man,
is that a hard question? How do you?
We do research. Yeah. And for years, decades, news stations have done research where they send out a questionnaire to people, or they call and they hey, what stories do you care about? What do you want to know in your neighborhood? And we've done hours and hours of research where we call a diverse group of people. And the research always comes back. We want breaking news. We want urgent stuff. We want things that affect our families and our community. Crime being one of them, weather being the top one. And so the research has always said, if there's a crime story in our neighborhood, we want to know about it, because most of these people we're talking to are parents with little ones, or, taxpayers, what have you. And, I don't love it. And I think we as a news organization and news industry should change a little bit. Right. Critically think about a crime story, and why are we talking about a car stolen? Do we really need to talk about, or even some shootings? People are so numb to it.
Right.
But when somebody dies, or how can you ignore it too at the same time? I think we have to really think about and maybe try to reinvent how we handle crime, if at all.
Yeah.
If we ask people in different ways, do you really want to know about crime? Whether you have to. Right. Although we have weather right here on their phones. Yeah. But what we can do is cut through the weeds and tell you, all right, it's going to rain Saturday. We know that, but what time? Can I still go to my kid's game at 11:30 in the morning? Or is it going to be raining at that moment? Is it a total washout? I see Kathy Orr. She's from here in Jersey. And she's the one I call. So when your weather app tells you one thing, I call Kathy. She tells me another. So gotta love that.
So, and that's a great way you explain it too. That makes a lot of sense. So it's almost more like people want to know what's going on in their community, more of like an awareness kind of thing.
Right. But I think they want to be entertained too. Yeah. They just want to I think everybody's tired of the negativity. But we can't come on the air and just be like, here's another beautiful day and another beautiful thing happening. Would people watch that too every day? Maybe. I think we got to, you could strike a nice middle. That's what you have to find, a sweet spot.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we've found it, but we need to work that way.
Like a happy medium. Like usually, like, you know, if like sometimes if you pop on World News Tonight with David Muir, right? It's always breaking tonight, and that's always the negative stuff, something catch fire. Yeah. And at the end, he kind of goes to like, woman in Ohio celebrates her 103rd birthday tonight.
Yeah,
I
love those stories.
Yeah, and it's amazing, right? I mean, especially as an anchor yourself, like telling those kind of stories have to be good feelings.
Well, and that goes back to my love for the Phils and the Eagles, and that our lead story isn't a bloody scene. It's the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, you know, or the Eagles have won the Super Bowl or whatever it is. That way, those stories bring everyone together, and you still tune in to watch. You're not turned off by it.
Yeah.
And you can't get it anywhere else. So that's where those are my favorite stories. That's why I root for Philly teams too.
Yeah.
You know?
Just because the stories are like kind of like so.
It's a break from the just the bloodshed.
Yeah. And that's what Philadelphia too, like always had a strong charisma with throughout the years. Is like the strong camaraderie between the sports teams and the fans. Yep. So that always brings so much positivity to the city, like you said.
Yeah. But you know, over the years, I've been here 6 years now. I've come across so many great human beings in Philly and everywhere, Jersey, just doing everyday things to help people. And so those who say Philly's a lost cause, there's too many shootings and murders and terrible things, this town's never going to figure it out. I've met so many people who would change my whole outlook on Philadelphia. And I started this series called You're Awesome.
Okay.
We got a sponsor for it, so I show up with a check. And usually these are everyday people doing everyday things that are selfless, just helping people, cleaning up their neighborhood. One woman was helping her elderly neighbor and cooking for her, and like just little tiny things that are happening that are going unnoticed. These aren't people who want the recognition for it. Teachers and first responders, cops, you name it, nurses, people who are going above and beyond for others. And probably, many times, need help themselves. Maybe they're in financial difficulty. So we got a sponsor for it, Moravia Health. They write a $1,000 check every time. So I show up with this big Publishers Clearinghouse check, and I present it to this random person who was nominated by somebody else as somebody who's awesome. And it's $1,000. It's not life changing, but maybe it puts a smile on their face. And then I get to tell their story. So we go on the air, and it's 3 minutes of positivity.
Yeah.
To break up the negativity. So I'm proud of doing that.
Right.
It's a lot of work, but every time I go, I'm inspired by these people.
And that's a great point you bring up too. I think in your kind of role, in your position, in your profession, you get to meet those kind of people because you're constantly traveling to different areas, different events, and you're showing face doing your as part of your job, and you're able to meet these people, individuals, and and the biggest thing too is like some things are life changing for them, and also you kind of look at the turnaround where, like you said, it kind of makes you feel better too. Like it's a great feeling for you.
It makes me feel like, dang, I need to step up my game, do more for others, and sometimes I'm in my own bubble and like, I'll help my family, my kids, I got to do this, my wife, I got to do this, but I think there's definitely some inspiration there for all of us that like maybe. If he's doing that, maybe I should reach out, and maybe it does inspire somebody at home to help with their church or their community or a kid nearby or whatever it may be, whatever touches you. You know, hopefully that works. But so I put it on social as well. So I'm proud of that for sure. Yeah,
that's something you could always cherish and continue to kind of do throughout your career.
And I talk about being from Cali and coming here, and it was very intimidating to come to Philly. And it being an outsider, and you come here to this place with such a rich history, and people have been here for generations, and they're so proud of their. As an outsider, it's intimidating because, like, oh man, it's like I got some catching up to do. I don't really know the culture, and then you get familiarized with it, and you just fall in love with it. But I just came across people. I don't know that every city has people like this. I don't. Right. I mean, these people are so. Genuinely just good people. In California, for example, neighbors don't hang out. In my neighborhood in Delco, we have block parties. We hang out for each other. My neighbors watch my kids and help with my dog. And
Right.
hey, your kid's over our house. We got him. He's good. You know, it's old school. One of the last. You know, there's some towns in this area that are some of the last Americana great cities where kids play outside. They're not on devices. They play till the street lights are on. Moms are hanging out with moms. Dads are hanging out with dads. And the kids are fine. Let him go play. Oh, he fell down. He skinned his knee and hit his head. He'll be fine. Rub some dirt on it, young man. You'll be good. It's like that versus some other cities where you're like, the neighborhood I grew up in, it was just kind of like a neighbor drives by. Hi. Have a good one.
It's like nobody wanted to be seen kind of thing.
Yeah. Now in my neighborhood, it's a heartfelt. Exactly.
It's a lot of love, though.
No, totally. Yeah.
So which brings us to Philadelphia. Talk about the city, and so you grew up in California.
Yeah.
Your first job in Toledo, Ohio, and then what was the move over to Philadelphia in the Fox 29?
Well, after Toledo was Fresno, California, in the middle of California, so I went back to my home state, but Fresno's kind of a farm town in central California, but I got to be an anchor there. So that was great. Because in Toledo, I was just a reporter. So I got to sit behind the desk and learn how to be an anchor. And that takes time to do it well and with confidence.
Well, which one do you prefer? Before you continue, which one do you prefer? Do you like being on the road reporting or behind the news desk?
You know what I like? Variety.
Okay.
I don't want the same thing over and over. I don't like. So even now, like I have the most variety job imaginable, where I'm out doing these You're Awesome stories, doing a little reporting. When the tornado hit Mullica Hill, I was out there reporting. That was a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I have a sports show. I travel. I do. I'm going to the Vatican here in next week.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
It's an awesome job because I'm not just an anchor. I wear a lot of hats. And I take pride in that for sure. And I have a great boss who believes in me, and coworkers who are very kind. So that's for me. That's what I love.
Yeah. So you love the be able the variety of being able to do a bunch of different things. That's what kind of satisfies you.
Yes.
And makes you like really enjoy what you do.
No day's the same. I love to be busy. I love to. My mind never stops. I'm racing all the time because we have our sports show live weeknights at 11:30. Fantastic sports show.
And that's the Fanatic sports show.
Yeah. That's it.
Got to tune in that a little bit. I saw some clips of that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It's like a radio show on TV.
Yeah.
A lot that we encourage people to send in a selfie video. Hey, I think the Phils suck this year. I think the Eagles are going to go all the way. Whatever you think, and send it in. And so it's kind of a fan interactive show. We have fun. It's not really a highlight show. It's just let's talk what's going on. People are passionate about their team. So we have the same 15, 20 people who are always sending us their opinion on the Phils, Eagles, and
the diehards that are just they live for it. Gotta love those fans though.
Oh, again, I don't think you'll find fans anywhere else. I mean, not New York, Cleveland, maybe. I'm trying to think of other comparable sports cities. I don't know if I can. I don't know if that exists. Boston might be one.
Yeah,
Boston might be it.
Yeah, and I kind of going off of that. I mean, we've heard people say in the region that, and everyone always says it. Philadelphia has the best fans in the world. I mean, every sport. When we're doing bad, we hate them. They're never going to win nothing. Yeah. We never want to watch them again. But as soon as that new season rolls around, we're going to win it all. Yeah, right. That's the mentality,
and that's what happens. I mean, when the Phillies, even in April, Phillies started off not too good. It's like. These guys stink. The window's closed. They're not going to win the World Series now.
Right. They just had, I think the last, when they played the Mets, they went 0-3 in New York. The recent Mets series. I'm like, oh,
and
man,
that's
what's
coming
going
off the last year's playoff and that whole thing. Mets own us. The Mets own us until we prove them otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to come here at some point, and the fans got to get electric for that series.
Yeah.
Because I'm sick of those guys.
Yeah. We definitely got to take it to them this time around when they come to Philly.
Yep.
So, but I want to get into like your coverage of the Eagles Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. But going back to before, so you had a lot of jobs out, California, Midwest. What brings you to Philadelphia Fox 29?
So after California, then I go to Miami for 5. Then I go to San Diego.
So you were traveling all over.
Well, yeah, that was kind of a personal decision
Yeah.
because my boys were in California,
right?
And I wanted to be near them. and that was during their middle school years, and I was there for that. And then my contract in San Diego comes to an end, and we have agents, and my agent said, "Hey, Philadelphia might be interested in you. Would you want to go there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. That sounds like a great town to go to." And when I was a kid, it's funny. I was telling you, I always envisioned myself working in the Northeast. It's just like a vision I had.
Really?
What it would be like to be an anchor, and because the Northeast is just, it's a pinnacle of New York, Philly.
Oh, it's like
such a great news
It's
town.
the mecca of news and things going on. Yeah, it's between New Jersey, New York, and Philadelphia. And even if you want to extend up to Boston, but more this area, there's so much going on happening.
Yeah, coming here was kind of a dream come true.
Yeah.
So that happened in 2019, and then the pandemic happens, and I survived that. Our business went through a major shift during that time, but it's nice to be able to survive that, and here we are.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine with the news. Well, everything went through kind of like a halt period during that time.
It was really cool the way we adapted as an industry. I mean, I was anchoring from my basement.
Wow.
Because they kept us out of the city, and we wanted as few people as possible to be in the studio, and we found the technology to do it, and it was a way to adapt, but it still just personally, I missed the interaction. And I don't think our product was as good. There's delays and that thing where you're talking over people because there's a delay, and it was tough, technically speaking.
So, well, obviously, it's probably so much easier being in the studio, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can make eye contact, and you can elbow someone, and hey, I'm going to say something here, and yeah.
So, where on Fox 29 Philly, where can we? So you have the night show news, right? So your weeknights at 5 and 6, and then you have the
lunch
late
break right now. And then 10 o'clock news, and then the sports show at 11:30.
How do you? 11:30 after the night news. Wow, so it's a late time show.
Yeah, yes.
So what's your day look like in the mornings? How do you prep for all this?
Oh, first I turn on sports talk radio right away to see what fans are saying, and I turn on Fox News to see what's in the news. I have to always be plugged in. I'm checking emails. I'm checking our Slack channel. I'm seeing what the stories of the day are. A little bit of Philadelphia Inquirer. I'm constantly on my phone, which I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah.
But first things first, wake up and have a 30-minute coffee with my wife, because the kids are usually out the door to school by then. And I just want to talk to her and put my phone down for a second.
Just kind of just debrief and just kind of just take it easy, because you have a long day ahead of you.
Totally.
Yeah.
And try to squeeze in the gym and squeeze in, some other work and stuff like that. So it's never dull. And then, I work and prepare all day, and then my work day starts. I like the hours though. I do not as a dad at all, because I'm never home by the time I leave, they're coming home from school.
Right.
And I haven't even chance to see them and see how their day went. I can't even pick them up. But from just personally, I'm able to prepare all day and be professionally ready. By the time I come home, they're asleep. It's 12:30 at night. So that's tough.
Yeah.
And if you the other shift is the morning shift, where you come in at 3 a.m.
Right.
And then now I'm like, sure, I'm home at night, but I'm grumpy and exhausted and irritable. So that's tough too.
Yeah, I was going to say the hours in news have to be, it's got to be tough.
It's either bad or horrific.
Yeah,
the hours, but because for me, I'm on when people are home and they're having their dinner or whatever. And I will say though, viewership is down, but I still hear from so many great people who have nice things to say, and I love when people stop me and say, "Hey, I watch you." I'm so grateful, because we put a lot of work into these shows, and to know that people are watching, it's great. Sometimes the worst thing you can have is apathy, when people are just they don't know. I don't watch the news. Oh, it's too negative. I don't watch the news. I'm like, okay, well, I don't blame you. Sometimes.
So that's got to be a cool feeling too. Like if you're just out and about, I mean, people recognize you, right? You get it a lot. People stop you.
Yeah, and they want to talk.
Hey, you're the guy on the news.
Yeah, they want to talk Philly sports or some funny thing Mike did on the air in the morning. Hey, did you see that thing Mike did? Oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah, so I appreciate people.
Yeah, and again, that kind of what we said before. That makes that's like a rewarding feeling. So much time and effort you put into your passion and your career, and then when you get that in return, it's awesome. Knowing that people recognize and people care.
It's like a chef who is preparing food and no one's eating it. No, you want to know people are enjoying what you're doing. So it's always, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and especially big Philly sports. I mean, so you've grown to like Philly sports, right?
Oh yeah,
over time.
I mean, listen,
you have no choice.
I'm a Dodger fan, but I always tell people now because the Dodgers don't affect my life. I mean, the Phillies do. I don't really have a football team because LA didn't have one growing up. Now they do. But the Eagles and Phillies affect my life more than any sporting event or team ever. So I'm all in on them. If in the NLCS, if it's Dodgers Phillies, I'm going Phillies. I want to see this team. I want to see a parade down Broad. I want to see this team win the World Series for these fans. Because when I think of these fans, I think of my neighbors and these Delco folks who I love so much, and how much these teams mean to them. And I want them to, and that's what made the Eagles in this Super Bowl so great. They won for the people. They won for these great fans. That's why. I love Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, but I was just more happy for the people,
right?
And these fans who are diehards and are just such great people. I wanted them to have that moment,
and they wanted it. We wanted it as fans so bad,
Yeah,
and it helps. There's a little bit of a butt kick in there. In that Super Bowl.
Not only that, but revenge and Kansas City, just all of it. All of it. It was one of the greatest sports memories of my life because I was there.
Yeah,
and I was in the building.
I want to talk about that. So what was that experience like? Covering the Super Bowl.
Shocking. Well, covering the Super Bowl is great.
Yeah,
New Orleans is great.
But being a part of it,
it was a party all week. And I got there on Sunday before the Super Bowl, and just every day, Monday, Tuesday, when Birds fans were flocking in like crazy. By Friday, it was a giant sea of green, huge party. None of that would have mattered if they'd lost.
Right.
But because they won, my memory is it was a giant party that just all culminated to a giant ass kicking on Super Bowl Sunday. And I remember watching, just thinking, not really celebrating, just being in shock. The Eagles are murdering the Chiefs, embarrassing them. And I just remember thinking, is this really happening? People at home must be, like, being inside the Superdome, it was half and half. So the building wasn't, I did see like everybody in Birds gear just jumping up and down. I was so happy for them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what a moment.
Yeah.
And it's just payback for 2 years ago when we lost a game we should have won then. And now it's like, let's do it again then.
Yeah.
Let's win another one.
I think the revenge feeling was great though, like you said.
Yep.
Just knowing that we went in there and we totally tore them apart. After losing such a close one a couple years back.
It made it look so easy, and it just became a party and a moment like I'll never forget.
Yeah. Let's hope we can try to get there again, Well, we're feeling a little confident, right?
Boston had that where they were the lovable losers for so long, and then they started winning World Series and Super Bowls, and why not us?
Yeah. So I think, and just being, like you said, like just being a kind of like in that Philadelphia scene, especially your position as in the news in Philadelphia, covering sports, and you cover a bunch of other stuff as well,
Yeah.
Do you ever have days where you're like, you'd rather prefer to cover if there's a really good stories in certain things in other areas, and then maybe like take sports away for a second? Yeah. Or are you just kind of like, hey, throw it at me, I'll report whatever?
I don't have a choice, but there are definitely stories I prefer. Like, it doesn't always have to be all roses and like weather. Like when there's a major weather story, I love weather stories like snowstorms. I love snowstorms. It's good for business. When a city has to shut down and there's 8 inches of snow coming. First of all, it hasn't happened lately. And the news gets such a bad rap because as soon as the news says there's going to be a big snowstorm, like the whole city collectively eye roll. That's not going to happen.
Nobody ever believes it.
They don't. And you know what? I get it. There's been some overblown stories and forecasts that have hurt the reputation, but we're not doing that. That's not on purpose. Those are not like we're just trying to scare you so you'll watch. Too much respect for the meteorologists. They're doing the best they can. I'm bummed we haven't had a big one in a while. Biggest one I've been here 6 years. The biggest one was 4 or 5 inches, maybe 6. So that's a bummer. But I love those stories because, just to answer your question, everybody's in on it, right? Everybody is watching because it affects them.
Right.
There's not a lot of stories you can say that about where it directly impacts people.
Yeah, and I think too, like, where you said where they think it affects them more is when you'll get the more people that tune in. People just watch news just to watch it, like around dinner time hour or when they wake up in the morning with a cup of coffee, watch a good morning show.
Yeah.
But I think when they, like you said, when they know it's going to impact them in their life, what they're doing, that's where they're tuning in. That's your biggest hit on the news, I think.
Yeah, and obviously political stuff, but you can't
absolutely.
You can't. I mean, the election was huge, and it,
and you covered the most recent mayoral election.
Yes,
I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was actually a highlight for me. And a lot of work, but I'm very proud of that debate because there were eight, maybe even 10 Democratic candidates for mayor to replace Jim Kenney in Philly, and I had to study up and know my stuff on all of them, and they all had diverse, deep resumes with lots of accomplishments. Yeah. And at that point, nobody knew which way Philly was going to go. What kind of mayor? They were all almost equally qualified with different skill sets.
Yeah,
and the winner of that debate, I think, was Sherelle Parker, and that, I think, helped guide her to the office.
Yeah.
And get her elected.
So, and you moderated the debate, right? So, like you said, was that something you said you had to kind of really study up on that and kind of was that like a moment where you were like not nervous because you're used to being in front of the camera, but were you like, I got to really nail this right now?
Yes, that's a good question. I not nervous, but like because I was prepared.
Yeah,
but I knew I had to be on my A game, and each candidate has a set amount of time to talk, and you got to be ready to call them out if there's a something they say that either isn't true or needs to be clarified or whatever. So that was a total team effort. That was not just me. That was some of my colleagues who were panelists asking the questions. Jeff Cole, Sheba Russell, and it looked like a network production. I was very proud of that. So. We submitted that for an Emmy. I was nominated, but I did not win. But whatever. It was a big moment here.
And you have won many. You have won some Emmys.
I don't want to downplay Emmys, but
they're a big deal. I mean, in a way, right?
They are. And I know people who've won dozens of them. And so. There's a million different categories you can win them in, different storytelling categories and team newscasts and breaking news, and feature reporting and all kinds of stuff. So I'm really not motivated by them at this point in my career. They're flattering and they're great. That's not what kind of motivates me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you get nominated and you win an Emmy, you're proud of it, but it's not like you're saying an ultimate driver kind of thing.
Yeah. Awards, I don't know. It's something to be proud of, and it's a symbol of a team effort usually. Right. But I don't know. I just prefer to just look forward. What's next? Yeah.
Absolutely. And recently, like in the national news and everything, one quick thing I wanted to ask, and not harp too much on it, but just your overall like assumption and your kind of belief. Do you think in the news? Well, news has been around forever, but like in the most recent years in politics, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think people stereotype how news may give politics a bad outlook, or one side is a bias? What's your take on that? If you're allowed to harp,
I have an opinion, but I don't know if I can.
Not your take on your political view. That's not what I'm saying. Just like if you're generally summing it up, like, do you think that kind of has an effect on people?
I'll just say this. Yeah, I think the news has lost a lot of people. Okay. For the way they've covered stories in both directions. And I think they, I don't know when this happened, when it got like this, but I think it's unfortunate because people on both sides distrust the news, and I hate that. And I don't know how to get people back. I think people are watching now to be affirmed, just affirm their belief and not necessarily to be informed.
Right.
And, journalists out there, I don't want to get crap for this, but I think they deserve some of the blame for it. Some of them have reported on their own personal agendas instead of trying to be as objective as possible.
Yeah.
And I hate that has happened. I don't know that we can get people back. I don't know. To just trust us to give them something without an agenda. Right. And I can tell you in our newsroom, that's never discussed. We're never like, hey, how can we help Trump or how can we help Kamala?
Right, yeah.
Never once ever thought that way. So, and I would say, cable news is one thing. local news doesn't really dabble in, opinionated.
Right.
We don't think that way. I don't think we really get into that. So I would say give us a longer leash on the local side.
Yeah.
But CNN, Fox News, and that whole thing, they run the gamut.
Yeah. And then that, like you're kind of saying, like more so out of the local news, like the more national news, is kind of the ones who really harp on that and kind of drill that home every day.
They do
on their beliefs. Yeah.
And if you want that, go get it. I guess there's a place for it. It's just it's gone too far, and I maybe everybody just needs to kind of go right back to the middle if possible. Just get right back to the
like
middle.
it was years ago, right?
Yeah. Can that happen?
Going back to that old school news you were saying.
Yeah, I don't think that can happen. Honestly, that's where I'm cynical a little bit. That I don't think we can get back there.
And the reason I ask that too is because I think it's like kind of a shame that I think news in general, I don't think people should some people may have assumptions just because of whatever program they watched that gives news a bad rep or a bad name.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that because like you kind of said, you guys, the local news here in Philadelphia, you do it right. And you stick to the stories, you stick to the positivity. You also, have to talk about things that happen that aren't so good, right? Because that's news, like we said. But then you keep it neutral and you kind of give it to what the people want to hear, and that's a beautiful thing. I mean,
fake news. That was the two words that I
didn't want to say fake news.
I know it was two words that kind of hurt us. But so I mean, obviously that's like objective one, right? Get it right. Get the story right.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, you got to retract. You got to come out and hey, we screwed up on that story. And we've had to do that. Every station has had to do that in a newspaper.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, own it. Maybe there should be more of that. Maybe that's how you get more people to trust you. When you make a mistake or you say something that was off or whatever unfair, own it.
Yeah, because I always, and it's kind of like, and you're, it's really neat. Like your story, like from when you were a child, always loved the news. I kind of like in my personal life, just, I don't want to talk about me, but I kind of had that same kind of thing. I always thought the news was cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I like what I'm doing now with the podcast stuff. Cause I always wanted to try to get into the news, but I also like the podcast, like being on the camera, being on the mic and just kind of just expressing, being that image, and just kind of giving to people and hearing other people's stories. So I kind of had to think for that too. So that's why watch the news at a young age and, still watch it now. Yeah. It's awesome. That's why you really give credit to those people in the news.
Yeah. But podcasts are, we even have a Fox local channel. We have a podcast studio at Fox 29. And there is a future for podcasting and news and some kind of, merger where maybe the future is people will get their news via podcasting. Certain stories, breaking news, you need to be live, but
sure. Yeah.
I've learned a lot through that and just longer form discussions. Whether they be about health or community or whatever. So I want to be you when I grow up, actually. I want to do this and have these long conversations. I'm very interested in people too. Like I if you tell me you're a trash man or I want to know, so what's that like? What is your day like? What time do you have to get in? I love people's daily lives. And I'm just like, everybody's got a grind and a story to tell. So that natural curiosity, it sounds like you're the same way, is just, it's a good way to be. You're not thinking about you, you're thinking about them.
I think it also comes, right, exactly. And it also comes having a really outgoing social personality in a good way where you want to learn about someone. You're kind of, you're comfortable with speaking out to someone about maybe something they went through or, something that they had to deal with, or it doesn't have to be a negative. It could be a positive thing, something that can uplift them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just everybody's got a story to tell. And I find many people interesting. And when they ask about me, I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about me. Like right now, talking about me is that's not my favorite, but I just love to hear about everybody else's daily life, because you could probably learn something from everybody.
Yeah, there's always. I mean, what do we say? We're lifelong learners. You ever hear that expression?
Yep.
We are. I mean, we learn something new almost every day.
Well, I was a C student in high school, 2.3 GPA. Not proud of it, but my point is, I'm not that smart. But I think not that smart journalists are the best ones because they ask all the questions that maybe everyday people are asking. Really smart journalists assume that everybody knows what they know. And I'm the one asking dumb questions that I think maybe other C students out there, which I think a majority of Americans are.
Right.
So I find that the most mediocre students make the best journalists just due to curiosity. Okay, I don't know that. For example, I'm going to the Papal Conclave, and I'm Catholic, but there's a lot I had to do, and a lot of studying I'm doing and have to do for this event that I'm learning. And maybe somebody smarter already knows, and but I love the research. I love the learning, and I hope that never changes too. Because every day I wake up and think, God, there's so much to learn. I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. I need to learn this. I got to read more books. Like I got to listen to this podcast. I got to learn more about health. Why is my A1C up? Why do I, whatever it is, I'm still trying to figure this thing out.
And so it's always kind of curiosity, always wanting to learn more. Even when you're not doing a live show or whatever, you're always, like you said, you're mourning. I mean, kind of you have to do it for your job, but also too, you're just kind of curious in your own mind about things, right?
Yep. I'm just, I know, but then sometimes it gets overwhelming. Like, man, I'm never going to figure this out. There's so much to learn. I should have majored in this thing, or I should have went to this school or studied this thing. But that's the thing about news people. I think we aren't smart on one subject. I can't talk about one thing forever, but I can have a lot of mini conversations about a lot of random things. What is that? Master of nothing.
Just kind of short conversation, short, I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, just jack of many trades, master of nothing, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how it goes, but I love, I can have a 5-minute conversation about just about anything.
Yeah.
And after that, then my brain, I don't know,
just kind of goes somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your most memorable moment in your career in newscasting?
Wow.
Or one of the things that you still think about today, where you're like, man, that was pretty cool.
Well, or that was humiliating.
Or that's man, did I really just do that or say that?
My most humiliating moment. I lost my train of thought in Toledo, Ohio. It was my first or second year. I was doing a live shot at some farm, and you ever have a conversation, you're like, oh, what was I saying?
Yeah. All the time.
Well, that happened to me live on television, and I literally sat there for a minute, just like a deer in the headlights, just silence. And I'm like, and then it started oh my God, say something. And I just started mumbling and just saying stupid stuff. And it was humiliating.
And you were live on the air.
Yes.
You're live on camera.
And I still think about it now, 20 years, whatever years later. But coolest thing?
Yeah.
Man, I mean, recency bias is the Super Bowl. And just it's a lot of, you know what it is? I've forgotten 90% of my career. If you told me something, I would remember it, but nothing stands out because each day is its own new adventure. And by the time you're on this day, that day is so far behind your in your mind, you forgot about it. And so each day there's a big story that happens, and some of them affect me deeply, involving kids or something. But you also try to forget it. I think in my mind somewhere, because we've dealt with so much negativity, I have this defense mechanism where you just put it in the back of your mind. News people are also sometimes you laugh at inappropriate things, because you have to deal with it, cope with it. First responders do it.
Yeah.
It's a weird defense mechanism, I think. So you just try to forget as much as you can. But obviously, stories that were a huge team effort, stories that came out breaking news. I'll tell you, the plane crash in Northeast Philly, it just happened. I was on the air for 8 hours that night.
Wow.
Because it looked like a fireball came out of the sky, and turned out it was this medical jet out of the Northeast Philly airport. It just came crashing down for still to this day no rhyme or reason.
What's kind of scary about that whole situation was that's where my other job is in Northeast.
Is that right?
And my daily route in the mornings and coming home is Cotman Avenue, Roosevelt Boulevard. And that hit about, well, you know better. I think it was at what, 6:30?
Yep, 6:15, yeah.
6:15 that hit. Mm-hmm. I was leaving work around 3:20 that afternoon. So, 3 hours, give or take, still a good amount of time, but it's still a short amount of time. that plane could have hit at any time. And like when I got down to the shore to my parents, and people were like talking about, I was at a basketball game, watching a local game. I always try to catch the local high school basketball games where I used to play. And I'm like, hearing people on the phone, like looking up plane crashes in Northeast Philly. I'm kind of tuning into like other people's conversations. And they said the name of the street. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's my daily commute every day. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, so you're saying you're covering that. That was one of your
huge memory from Philly. I mean, that's funny because I left for the Super Bowl 2 days later, right after that. So you have two of my most memorable back-to-back stories there. But the doorbell video, I'll never forget it. Of the plane coming down,
the Ring doorbell, right?
The Ring doorbell.
Yeah, and then the guy rang the doorbell. He was opening his glass door, right?
Yes.
And then you just see the bolting of the fire boom,
and they run into the house to seek cover. It's just like the most shocking thing. And as you mentioned, Cotman Avenue being such a huge road, I am actually surprised more people on the ground didn't die. There was somebody who died. And just shrapnel and shards going everywhere. There was a piece of the plane that went into that restaurant, and there was a poor customer who was hit there, and just an awful thing. That it had just happened after that other helicopter crash in Washington with the plane, the
ice skating team.
Coming in from Kansas City, but so that it just made you go, what is going on with plane crashes?
Yeah, with the airplanes lately and all that stuff, and like the travel, it's like kind of crazy what's going on.
I know.
Aviation's the better term.
I've flown since and tightened my seatbelt a little tighter, but I still think it's safe. But anyway, that was a crazy story.
Well, you have to travel a lot for your job.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to get on planes a lot, right?
I've gone to Clearwater for the Phils, the Super Bowl, the World Series, and now the Vatican. And I swear, this is going to be maybe the highlight of my career, to be sent to Italy to cover a conclave and the election of a pope in St. Peter's Square, which I don't know if you remember past conclaves, but it's like like Times Square on New Year's Eve, except on steroids.
Wow.
You've got people from all over the world congregating in this one place, looking up to this leader of the Catholic Church who they have so much hope and faith in, and it's all these people, who are, hey, this is let's be faithful together and share this magical moment in this beautiful place at the same time. So I'm very grateful that Fox is sending me for this.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that opportunity. I definitely want to go to check it out and see all your coverage of that.
Yeah.
That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, there's always as being in news, right? You're always, there's news every day, right? You ever feel like there's a day where there's like nothing really happened today?
Yes. I mean, even like people
always wondered that.
Oh, hey, a slow news day, huh? I'm like, yeah, shut up. Because sometimes, you make the best of what you can. But that's what makes Philadelphia a great news market. There's not many of them. There's always something crazy going down. And when I worked in Miami, it was the same way. A Florida man and all these wild stories out of Florida, all these weird things happening. Philly's kind of the same way. That's not always crime, too. I mean, there's a story out of Delco we're covering tonight about a woman who had something to say, or maybe not say, but, watch the news. She did something on the hood of a car. But anyway, again, never a dull night. There's always something that makes you raise an eyebrow, laugh, or laugh out of either surprise or disgust or whatever it is. There's always somebody who's going to do something that's going to go on the news. But we try to be critical in what we're going to put on TV and critically think about what stories make are most interesting to people. And sometimes you'll care, sometimes you won't. You're never going to please everybody.
Yeah. And again, not everyone, like you said, is going to be in tune with the news and what you're saying. Listen, it's not a perfect world. People may say, well, how could that person say that?
Yeah.
How could he say that on the air? Well, then again, it's like not really. People are always going to have their comments, and at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, we all do a job. Yeah. We all do our job best for our ability, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's all the kids though. There's our viewers are usually families or older folks, and people over, I would say 35. the younger people, I don't need to watch the news. I got an app. That's how I get my news. But then you ask them about a story and they go, wait, what? What's a conclave? Who's the Pope? What does the Pope do? And then you go, okay, well, maybe you should watch the news a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of educate yourself, right?
Yeah.
You learn a lot by watching the news.
Yeah.
You become educated.
That's good. That's the good attitude.
Because my parents always had it on when I was growing up, and that's always made me watch it. And I learned a lot about stuff when I was at a young age, like that otherwise I wouldn't have known.
Or read the newspaper. I mean, that's Well,
it's funny you mentioned that because that's going to bring me to my last question as we wrap up. Do you think people read the newspaper anymore like they used to?
No, but it's always weird when I hold one because I'm like, oh, I haven't held one of these in a while. It's all online now.
Yeah,
I miss that too. Like an old school guy, I'm an old soul. Go into your driveway and what's on the front page? What's a random story on the back page? What's in the health section? The sports the headlines were always funny. That's a bummer.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get back to that one day. I don't know.
I hope, but like again, with this digital world we live in,
toothpaste is out of the tube. Can't put it back.
Everything's on that little cellular device now.
I know.
It's a blessing and a curse, but it's also done a lot of
evolve.
Right, done a lot of great things too in our world. Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
It's just made things so much more advanced and
But I do see it a time where maybe our smartphone is, we pull back a little bit on how much we're on this.
Yeah.
Like I'd be willing to go to a flip phone. I'd be willing to go to a flip phone and I can text and talk and that's it.
Yeah.
Anything else I want to do on my phone, I have to go to a desktop computer. Book a flight, go to your desktop computer. You want to go on social media, go on because then now you're limiting how much of that you can do.
Screen time, yeah.
Text and talk. I think that'd be healthy.
Yeah, people can do their whole business off the phone now. Emailings, writing reports, video recording. It's crazy.
Every Sunday I got an alert on, how much phone screen time I had, and I'm always like disgusted by.
Well, in your business though, you kind of have to be. Like you said, we talked about that earlier, where you're trying to limit it yourself more. But you're always, you kind of, it's like you have to. It's like a habit.
I do like
creature
to call
of habit.
people though. Sometimes I like to surprise people and like dial their number. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Can we stop that? Let's just talk. And they usually freak out. They don't answer. And then text me. Did you butt dial me? No, I actually called you.
I called you.
I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
People are they freak out when they see a name. They're like, why is he calling? What happened? Or something like that.
That's definitely cool. Like they don't expect it, so you kind of throw them off, right?
Yeah. And I appreciate when people call me. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
It's old school.
Yeah.
Remember when we were younger, we had to, if we were dating a girl, we had to call her. And then her dad answers, and we got to talk to him and say, hi, sir. This is Jason. Is Peggy there? Can I talk to her? Oh, okay, great. Thank you. And I would always kiss his ass and,
right.
I hope you're having a great day. and then she would say, hey, my dad likes you. That's how I learned.
It's like, what did you say to my dad? He really likes you.
Yeah. I just, I spoke to him like now kids just double tap a like or a snap and there's zero conversation.
Nope.
Come on.
Dating apps, Snapchat.
Yeah.
Oh God. It's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Go to a bar and like introduce yourself to that's do it the old school way.
Yeah. I like the old school genuity. Yeah. I like that because I was kind of raised that way too.
I'm a throwback. I know. I'm get off my lawn, that sort of thing at this point.
No, it's
there's some slang that kids say to these days that I'm like, what does that even mean?
Well, all my friends that I hang out with, we all kind of have we all get along because we have that old school mentality, the old soul mentality.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And that should never die, I hope. Because there's still some kids out there. I like to think my boys, not 21 and 19, still have an old soul. They're listening to all the old music. They're binging Sopranos right now. They love all
one
that
of my
stuff.
favorite shows. I'm actually going to have some of the guys on my show.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I've been, it's in the works.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But I've been
working on it.
Yeah, I've had one guy on before, became a good friend of mine. He was on big screen movies, The Bronx Tale.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, the lead guy, he's one of my good friends. Lilo Brancato, he's one of my dear friends.
Awesome.
But I've also had a great, avenue and experience meeting a lot of those other guys. So talking to some of them, trying to get them on, just because it's cool. How do you get casted and something like that? And taking you back in 1999 when I hit the screen, HBO.
Yeah,
De
Niro, just so Chaz Palminteri, such a legendary movie, and but all those mob movies, my God, They never get old. They stand the test of time.
And you know what it is too. Like just I think people they just like they get intrigued with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like they turn that on and they're like it sucks them in. They're like so fascinated with those kind of movies.
I know. I do wonder who's going to be the next Scorsese who comes out here and like, does these types. I think there'll always be a demand for that kind of content.
Yeah. I think that kind of content won't die. I think that's just gonna go for generations.
Yeah. I know you're pressed for time, but I got a buddy who was a Navy SEAL who came out of the SEALs, retired, became a technical advisor for guns, to teach actors how to handle weapons, and now he's a full blown director. And he just directed this movie, War. It's about the Iraq War. And it's the word war is in it.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
I'm proud. Warfare.
Okay, nice.
I'm proud of this guy. He's gone from SEAL to full on movie director. So
Awesome.
Warfare.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But Jason, we're out of time here.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a quick hour. I love that. Well, I definitely got to do this again.
Yeah,
and we'll talk some more about some
I
of
hope
this.
it was interesting.
Yeah, it was it was awesome. I think we had a great conversation, and I appreciate you coming on and making the time. I know you got a busy schedule. You're a busy guy.
Back to the news.
Well, tonight. Again, thank you, Jason, for coming on tonight. We'll definitely do this again soon, and we'll keep in contact and maybe do some work on some things.
Yeah.
But check out the news weeknights, 5, 6, and you have 10 o'clock on Fox 29 Philly. And don't forget to check out Jason's The Fanatic Sports Show at 11 o'clock. On
11:30.
11:30 on
Fox 29.
Fox 29 as well. If you want to talk some Philly sports and kind of get your feet wet and dabble in the Philly sports scene. But this is the big man here. Until next time. Episode 3 with Jason Martinez, Fox 29 Philly, news anchor, reporter, journalist. It was a great show. Check him out on the local news. You can't miss him. A lot of great content to come. Thank you, John, at New Jersey Content Studio, and then my editor and other / producer, Rocco, for all your great work and all your great help. Until next time, the Big Man Report Live podcast. We'll see you then. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.